Awareness and acknowledgement of our human struggle through stories is at the core of mental well-being and equity. Storytelling has not only been foundational in different cultures around the world throughout the history of the species, but has also been key in anti-racist, anti-oppressive pedagogy, which is a focus area of this resource, as is the approach to co-learning. We are hopeful system leaders, administrators, educators, and students will embrace this co-learning journey together towards equity and wellness. This journey to learn, disrupt, and rebuild does not come from the position of a hierarchy of knowledge holders. Everyone should be and needs to be learning from each other, which will create a collaborative environment which inspires all voices to be heard. Activist and author Bell Hooks said, "People resist by telling their stories, because suppressed, untold stories uphold oppression in social institutions like education." Through this resource, we intend to surface those stories for educators and for our students, many of which have been silenced for far too long, to seek individual and collective wellness and justice through a truly equitable lens. All our experiences during this pandemic have been grounded in stories of endurance and anxiety. Although our stories are different due to our varied lived experiences, there are common experiences of loss of opportunities, finances, loss of milestones, time with friends and family, and for some, loss of loved ones. These stories of struggle and courage are where we may all find common ground with our students as we build up, as we co-learn with them, as we figure out together how to navigate a world that is shifting and changing in so many different ways. Telling our stories, they make us vulnerable. And sometimes our workspace is not where we feel comfortable or safe feeling vulnerable. But our vulnerabilities, our emotions, our feelings, it is what makes us human. And before anything else, we are human. They are the core of our strength from where we can find the power to heal and begin the journey towards resilience. So I will try to set an example and make myself vulnerable to all of my fellow educators at HWDSB. I will share my story. I'm a settler in this country like many of you. My friends and family, they've built their lives in different parts of the world, and none of them have been spared from the clutches of this global pandemic. I've lost 3 family members, 2 friends, and a mentor during the last few months to this pandemic. I wasn't able to be at any of their funerals because they don't live here, and even if they did, I probably would not have been able to be at their funeral. 2 of them, they would have really wanted me to be there. They were really close. I wasn't able to be there for these people that I deeply cared about. I wasn't able to be there for the people in their lives who were devastated by their untimely loss. That has been a huge burden. I've watched helplessly as my young adult children have experienced losses of their own during the last few months, prom, graduation, time with friends that is so precious, as we know, being laid off, losing opportunities in their careers, and then losing innocence, trying to fight the injustice that they see around them. I wish I could shield them from all of this like any mother would, but I know that's not possible. As a mother, that has been a huge burden. I've been anxious about my students. I've wondered how they've been during these past few months, during these difficult times. There have been days when there have been certain faces that I could not get off my mind, as I couldn't sleep at night, wondering if they were okay and hoping that they were okay, and that one day I would be able to ask them how they are doing in person. I've been worried about coming back to work, about wondering if in these new circumstances, in this new environment, I would still be an effective teacher, a good teacher. I would be able to do the work that I love to my best ability, but also based on the principles that I have. they have been a constant on my mind. Yes, work has been a constant on my mind, and that's been a huge burden. And then George Floyd, protests erupting, cities on fire, racism finally at the center of the socio-political discourse. As a racialized person who has been at the brunt of so many microaggressions and gaslighting, as someone who has been witness to the explicit and implicit forms of racism my students have endured, and I've tried to fight that throughout my entire career, it has left me angry and sometimes bitter. Wow, finally, people think this is an important enough issue to talk about. But then came the realization that, hey, people are talking about it finally. And this is the time to make the most noise about it, because the momentum that we have been fighting for is finally here. And with this also came the responsibility to sit with my personal discomfort of realizing ways that I, even as a racialized person, has been complicit in these systems of oppression, and how I may have benefited from my place of privilege within this racial hierarchy, where my Black and Indigenous students and colleagues were denied the opportunities that even I had. And that realization perhaps became the most significant of all the burdens I have felt. As I reflect on these past months, I realize that despite the immense pressure I've experienced as a result of the pandemic, I have been able to build some amazing memories with my children who are starting to think about leaving the nest and going their own ways. And those memories are things that I will hold on for the rest of my life. They are precious to me. I have also been able to begin important conversations and dialogues in spaces and with people that it was not possible before. And I realize that that is a huge positive, because it is the time to bring about positive change. Yes, I'm exhausted emotionally, intellectually, and physically from this work as a racialized person carrying that extra burden. But I am still grateful for the opportunity to do what I know is the right thing to do. And I know that the time is now. And that is the truth that I am going to carry with me anytime I feel the pressure. That is the truth that I will revisit, reaffirm, and draw my strength from every time the burden becomes too heavy in the days to come.